Hello kings and queens. For this lesson I'm going to skip the hilarious intro that probably only I think is funny anyway, and get right on into it. By the end of today's lesson, you will be able to write repeated addition and multiplication number sentences. You'll also be able to model multiplication using equal groups and repeated addition. This activity builds on your understanding of equal groups and fluency with addition, and applies these concepts to the meaning of multiplication. You will learn to form equal groups of objects and find the number of objects in each group, as well as the total number of groups. You'll use repeated addition to represent and find the total number of objects and then relate this representation to a multiplication sentence. Over the course of this lesson, you'll discover that multiplication is more efficient than repeated addition because it requires fewer calculations. The reason this lesson is extremely important is because you will build on these skills when you learn to divide by making equal groups and using repeated addition. Before we get started with the lesson, there are some supplies that you'll need. The first are either some cups or bowls, at least 5 of them. Next, you'll need some counters. These can be anything that you have a lot of. So it could be pennies, it could be something like beads. I, for example, am going to be using gobstoppers. Not the healthiest, I'm aware, but I assure you, these are pieces of candy that are no longer fit for human consumption. They are from Halloween of 2007, maybe 2008. I would not advise that anyone eat these. But when you consider that the world is coming to an end, desperate times call for desperate measures, so you never know. So here you see I've got set up 3 bowls. I would like you to do the same thing, set up 3 bowls or cups on a table or flat surface, and place 4 counters into each cup. One, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. There are different ways to find the total number of counters without combining the groups and counting all of them together. How many counters are in each cup? Correct. There are 4 counters in each cup. What addition sentence shows the total of the equal groups? Great job. 4 plus 4 plus 4 equals 12. To describe the equal groups, complete this phrase. Blank groups of blank. Great. 3 groups of 4. So what multiplication sentence shows the total? Right. 3 times 4 equals 12. Notice that multiplication symbol replaces groups of. Okay, now we're going to repeat this with more counters. Take out 4 cups or bowls, and place 5 counters into each cup or bowl.
1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4.
What addition sentence shows the total of the equal groups? Great job. 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5 equals 20. Now write a multiplication sentence and write it in words. So for the multiplication sentence, you should have 4 times 5 equals 20. And to have written it in words, you should have written 4 groups of 5. Try to describe how these two number sentences are related. I'll give you a second to think about it. Right. They both show the same quantity of objects in each group, which is 5. But the addition sentence adds that quantity in each group, and the multiplication sentence multiplies the number of groups by that quantity. Great. Now do me a favor. Write 2 different number sentences for 7 equal groups of 5 without using counters to model the problem. Great, you should have one that shows repeated addition and one that shows multiplication. Five plus 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5 equals 35. And 7 times 5 equals 35. So why is it more efficient to multiply than to add repeatedly? Right, if you said that because multiplying requires less writing or it saves you time, then you're spot on. That's exactly what I would have said too. One final example. At this time, I would like you to use counters to model 5 equal groups of 6. First thing you'd be asking yourself is, how many cups do I need to show 5 equal groups of 6? Well, if I look back at my previous examples, I noticed that the groups were represented by the number of cups that I had. So if I'm going to use counters to model 5 equal groups of 6, I need 5 cups or bowls. There are my 5 groups. Now the question remains, how many counters do I place into each group? If I'm looking to use counters to model 5 equal groups of 6, then I know I must put 6 counters into each group.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
On a piece of paper, write a multiplication sentence and a repeated addition sentence that represents the situation. Great. You should have come up with this. 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6 equals 30, and 5 times 6 equals 30. Real quick though, I want to go over a couple of common misconceptions. These are things that a lot of scholars find confusing. If by some chance you wrote 5 plus 6 instead of 5 times 6, it's possible that you may be experiencing some confusion with the difference between the meaning of addition and multiplication. If this is the case, what I'd suggest you do is use counters to add 5 and 6. This should show that you have a group of 5 and a group of 6, not 5 equal groups of 6. All right. If by some chance you wrote 5 plus 6 instead of 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5, you might be confused about the idea of repeated addition. If this is the case, you should practice repeated addition by skip counting by 2s, 3s, and 5s to find a sum. You can even skip count with groups of counters and write repeated addition sentences. I hope this has been informative. Now it's your turn to show what you know and begin your independent practice.